In this short video, we're going to talk about input parameters. Input parameters is your way to communicate with the data in these widgets, where basically you're communicating with an API. It's just that we abstract that from the end user so that they work with these parameters at the top of the navbar of each individual widget. Let's say that we are looking into the Markdown with text input. So you can see the type is going to be Markdown. We're going to use Markdown for all of them just because we can represent text and it's simple, but you could do anything. This is an example of a parameter that is text. So there's the type text, which is the most important field. Then you have the parameter name. The parameter name is important for the reasons we're going to see later, which is you can group parameters that have the same parameter name. And then you've got the label and the description, which is what happens on hover when you hover on top. And then finally, is there a default value? So if I go back here, you see the default value is OpenBB. When I hover on top, I get the name and enter your name. So I can now say yeah, and you can see that it gets refreshed automatically. Okay. Now this is a very simple one, and we're gonna go through very simple ones first so that you can see the Lego block pieces, if you will, and then we'll see how we can manipulate some of these things together. In this case, we can see we have a number. For the number, you have a different thing here where you can set this, and it goes up and down. The next one, we have a boolean. The difference is just that we have this type boolean, so if you turn it on and off. Then we have a date picker. For the date picker, where is it? Here is date. But one thing we like to do is this one here. So you can set a value by default. And in this case, we are actually setting it for yesterday. So we get the day of yesterday programmatically, and then we convert into this date format, which we then pick up on the workspace. So this is the day of yesterday, but I can change here and you'll see that this got updated. Okay. Then we go on to dropdown, which is an important one. So for the dropdown, all we need here is options right here. So there can also be like an options endpoint where you go grab the options from an API. This is particularly helpful when there's a ton of data. But in this case, just because we are demonstrating like simple flows, I hard-coded the options right here, which is also possible. So in this case, we have 17 days, 30. So let's say 30, it's fine. Okay, but what happens if you want actually to be able to select more than one? That's very simple. For more than one selections, you just need to add this part here, which is multi-select to true. And then here you'll see that we can select more than one. They appear here. And then what you see here as the label is the name of the parameter and then the number of choices that we have selected. Okay, one thing that we added as well was similar to the text input. We added, where is it? Here. Similar to the text input, but there's multiple. So in that case, what we will say is essentially that you can come here and you can do things like this. So I can have, this is var 1, 2, 3, 4, enter. And because it's multiple, you basically are able to select anything and they get stored for what they are. So I could close this one and now it gets refreshed. Then we also saw this guy here, which is the same dropdown. The only difference really is that it's an advanced one in terms of representation. So it's using these advanced dropdown options, which is actually defined right above. So it's defined here with label, value, extra info. So this is the important part, is extra info. And then the fact that it uses options endpoint and is not hard-coded. And then you have this style, which sets the pop-up width. So there's a few things that happen on this one, even though it's still a simple widget. And so the main thing is that you can click here. You see this additional information here. You also have a search because it comes from an options endpoint. And you can also like select one or you can select multiple still. Okay, those are the main differences. Then we're going to go into the next one, which is Markdown with widget string. What happens if I want to have like a text input and an integer input? So you can change this and you can change this to 2. You'll see they get updated. It's very simple. In this params field, you'll add the text parameter and then you'll add the number. So it's actually very easy to compose these based on what is the use case essentially. Let's go check this one. Now the next one is table widget with string filter. You can be smart about how you do things because you can use these parameters, for instance, for filtering data on the widget itself. So right now, let's say that I just want to filter things with the A. I write A and it's filtering it. And the way this is done is very simple. So you'll have this table data And then you'll have here the type text, everything that we've done before. But now all you do is you look for if that is mentioned anywhere on the row, and if so, in the category column. And if so, then we return that subset of data. So it's very simple. One more intricate one is a dependent dropdown. So let's say that here I select all, I get all of these options here. But maybe if I just want to select reports, what happens is that I only have these two now, okay? And the way you achieve this is by basically having, here's the get document options. So here it tells you all the options based on a specific category. So you can see that with category all, you get everything. Otherwise, you get like a subset. But here is how we define it. So we define it with two parameters, like we did others. But with only, and this one, everything is the same. The only difference is this one here. So on this one, we have the option endpoint, which is the document options. And we have to select these option parameters with the category like this, with the $sign to basically specify that it's dependent on the previous parameter. And that's going to be utilized as an input onto the document options. In terms of the markdown itself, it just looks like this. But most of the logic is in these document options, which is basically expecting that category, which is the previous parameter. And then finally, we have this one, which has a toggle, it has a date, it has a dropdown, it has a number, and then it has text input. And not really much to this. The only thing to note is the positioning. So instead of being all on the same row in this case, we are seeing here 3 rows of parameters. And that is achieved by creating an array to lay out different parameters. So here in this case, instead of having everything on its own, you'll see that there's here an array. Then we have separated by the next list, and then we have another list in the end. And so each list you add and the parameters inside are going to be coming a new row in the widget world.